Meet Beelzebub. Father Theophilus, who is the leader or prince among you? What is your name? The devil has to declare himself. The exorcist has to find out who and what is down there and why.
Beelzebub!
You call yourself Beelzebub. Are you not Lucifer, the prince of the devils?
No, not the prince, the chieftain, but one of the leaders.
You were therefore not a human being. Now notice that, because that's going to happen eventually in this exorcism, human demons coming out. But you are one of the fallen angels who, with selfish pride, it all starts there, wanted to be like unto God. Remember the counterbalance, Michael, who is like God? Michael.
Yes, that is so. How we hate him.
And those who go around in hatred mode resemble him. It can be seen in their eyes and their expression. Bitterness. And bitterness of soul and unforgiveness is an open door also even to the physical. Bitterness in the form of cancer. The body and the soul are linked. Why do you call yourself Beelzebub if you are not the prince of the devils?
Enough! My name is Beelzebub.
From the point of influence and dignity, you must rank near Lucifer. Or do you hail from the lower choir of angels? Now, the average demon is the equivalent in negative of our guardian angel. They're all around us. I was talking to Father Michael Marr last night, a Holy Marian priest who's now in a nursing home, and he reminded me that there was a demon appointed for every priest.
I once belonged to the seraphic choir.
Now, seraph in Hebrew is to burn. They are burning with glory and praise, and normally only have one thing to do. Those high angels are very close to the throne, and they are in gratuitous praise mode all the time. Hagios, hagios, hagios. It is the guardian angels who have things to do here on earth normally. There are exceptions. The Archangel Gabriel has important business to do, and he may actually have been the guardian angel of the Blessed Virgin. That's a mystery. What would you do if God made it possible for you to atone for your injustice to him?
Are you a competent theologian?
By that he means how thick you must be. Don't you realize that our will is fixed? Because they had full knowledge and they were fully responsible. We are of a lower order, and as long as we have breath and intelligence and conscience, we can make a U-turn. We can readjust all eternity. How long have you been torturing this poor woman?
Since her 14th year.
Now it turns out, eventually, that the father of the girl is in her, deceased Jacob, and he has to admit why and how all this happened. I think, if I remember rightly, he found that she refused to give in to his advances, and he got annoyed and cursed her. And that, of course, would have an effect from the father. The father has authority over the child, and the demons love to hear curses. Be careful, curses can actually be very damaging. They can come into land as well from feuds. In the traveling community, as you know, the cursing business is quite high. that innocent girl and torture her like that?
Ha! Did not her own father curse us into her?
Now listen to this bit, because it's interesting. We doze happily while these are in perfect order. We need to be as orderly as they, and that means obedience. Because as they have obedience in reverse, so we should have obedience to competent authority. And competent authority is always correct. We don't wriggle out of it out of some preference of our own, because doing so puts us in jeopardy. We're only safe in correct obedience. But why did you, Beelzebub, alone take possession of her? Who gave you that permission?
Don't talk so foolishly. Don't I have to render obedience to Satan?
Satan, the adversary. There's a perfect order. And by the way, I believe it was that same demon, Beelzebub, who had to admit in the Holy House of Loreto in an exorcism there, not long ago actually, he didn't have permission. Remember now, he's a creature. He didn't have permission to enter the family where the rosary was said. And so expect all kinds of good reasons to stop you from saying the rosary. Play the game of the demon. Put on the interesting news. Anything but have the rosary in your hand. And especially having it said together. You just can't bear it. Then you are here at the direction and command of Lucifer.
Well, how could it be otherwise?
He was carrying this on in different languages, German, English, all the rest of it, and the demon was responding in kind. And by the way, in that exorcism in Loreto, he was commanded, and it was all picked up on the phone, they were recording it, speak in correct Italian. And eventually he stopped howling and did. And it is correct Italian. He can do whatever he wants with languages. Remember now, he never lost his angelic intelligence. So he knows how to get at his creatures. We who are less intelligent are more at risk than we think. And by the way, he knows what will work. If he can't get souls with the obvious, things like getting them to look at impure images and all the rest of it, he'll try something more sublime, on their level. E.g., in monasteries and convents of a certain intensity, he knows exactly what will work. His classic ploy is to get a candidate out of that place, which he doesn't like, into something. Now, what will he do? He won't tempt them any longer with the simple things. He'll get them into something, a sublime carrot, higher perfection, another institute. Anything that will work, just get them out of there. And that's where one has to be honest with the confessor, so that he, with hindsight, can pick up exactly what's going on and who's at work. Remember now, the devil loves to use holy things to wreak havoc on earth. And that applies also to church life. Division. The devil, by name, is the divider. Diabolos. Dia, through, vole, is to split up. And wherever there is division in the church, he is not absent. I won't go into the details of this Jacob, the lost soul who's in there, the father, but I will go into this bit, because it concerns precisely the church and our time. There's one voice which stands out amongst these demons present. A deep, rough voice announced itself, which had already been noticed alongside that of Beelzebub. Are you the unfortunate father who has cursed his own child?
No!
Who are you then?
Judas!
What? Judas? Are you Judas Iscariot, the former apostle?
Yes!
I am the one. And it was a howling voice, setting the whole room quivering. Eventually, Judas was asked, "What business have you here?"
To bring her to despair.
Notice, despair is the last bit. No point in struggling anymore. Give in. Abandon all. I had somebody in the Hermitage some years ago who had been admitted to a maximum security prison, and he was in there and he told me what had happened. There'd been a series of suicides in there, and one person in there, an inmate, said to him, "If that comes to you, don't go through with it."
Why not?
It's not pleasing to the man above. He was an IRA man, I think, but he had faith. Well, eventually, my friend had this feeling. Let's end this sentence. A shortcut, a little rope, it'll end it all in a few seconds. And then he realized, oh, that man. And he asked, "Are you that force that persuaded these others to do this?"
Yes!
And with a certain cool, he answered the man, "Give me an hour to think about it." And the presence went away. And for the first time in his life, he got on his knees and prayed from his heart. He realized what was going on. He changed his life, and for good behavior, he was eventually released way before time. He's been going around giving his testimony. Christy May. Good lad. Yes, ma'am. He was on O'Connell Street, and he saw people in the ring that he knew perfectly well from having worked inside it. As he was passing by, he collared him, this friend of his, ex. "You know you're on the way to hell." You know what the answer was? "I know. Can't do much about it, can I?" So he started talking to him, and he calmed him down. "Maybe I get you to go have a chat with a friend of mine." So on his cell phone, he got through to a priest he knew in Bachelor's Walk, got him to speak to him, and eventually he went to confession. Other stories I could tell, but there's no time. It's interesting stuff. So, to bring her to despair,
So that she will commit suicide and hang herself.
she must get the rope. She must go to hell. Is it then a fact that everyone that commits suicide go to hell?
Rather not.
Why not?
We devils are the ones that urge them to commit suicide, to hang themselves,
Just as I did myself. Judas could have been saved, and as a bishop he could have come back and become a martyr. The difference between the tears of Simon Peter and those of Judas are that those of Simon Peter are those of remorse. Those of Judas are those of despair. It's well caught in the film of Mel Gibson. The eyes. The eyes. Those eyes that saw Simon Peter having 3 times denied his master, and those eyes that caught Judas as well. But with Judas, it was beyond. He wouldn't listen to that last imploration of grace. And that's what happens to many souls. They won't listen to the last imploration of grace. They've been hardened and they carry on out of force of habit. Do you not regret that you've committed such a despicable deed?
Let me alone. Don't bother me with your fake God. It was my own fault.
And on it goes. Now this same Judas, human demon, has appeared elsewhere in exorcism, notably in Germany in the mid-70s. And it was the time, mid-70s, when the outworking of the council was being applied. And he was, with other demons, obliged to admit his interest in what was going on. The demons hate the sacred, they hate their God, they hate the Blessed Sacrament. And so there's been this subtle, all-out attack on the sacred. Open your eyes. Don't collude. You have your rights. Don't be bullied. Every time that people go along with what they're expected to in things over which they have a right, you are playing the game of the other side. You have also the sense of the faithful. Listen in prayer. And in this time leading up to the Passion, become aware of what's going on and why. But don't leave the church. I conclude with this. The difference between a heresy and a schism is that the heretics both fail gravely in doctrine and in separation. A schism is that when the doctrine carries on, and also the sacraments, but in opposition and division. There are different degrees. When in 1054 there was a bust-up between the Bishop of Constantinople and the Bishop of Rome, it was thought to be a glitch which would pass, as they tended to. But it spread and stuck. It was momentarily solved in 1439 at the Council of Florence, but when the bishops of the East got back, they were pulled back to their own, and they wouldn't go along with it. But they have the sacraments, and there is very little responsibility now, centuries later. They have a whole system, they're under the local patriarch, what they call autocephalous churches, they're on their own head. But, whereas when Luther broke away, he had knowledge, he had no authority or power to transmit the orders, so they lost the sacraments. The same happened in England, because although Bishop Barlow laid his hands on Matthew Barker, the first Archbishop of Canterbury as we know it, it was completely deficient in intention and in form. Received the Holy Ghost. And there was no intention to do what the Church wanted, so it was utterly null and completely void, as declared by Leo XIII in 1896. Omni no iritum, utterly null and completely void. So they, despite appearances, haven't got the sacraments, and they've gone also into, yes, heresy. But things that come out of us, e.g. Utrecht, after the First Vatican Council, they had the orders, but they went eventually into heresy. What is happening after the Second Vatican Council is similar. You know that at the ordination of a bishop, there is a pause. I've only been at the ordination of one bishop, it's our own, of Bishop Tom. It's quite moving. There's a buzz in the air as they're getting ready for the crunch. And now in English, it's said, do you have the rescript of the Holy See? Oh no, the Apostolic See is the actual expression. And in English, yes, we do. Now in Latin, et siam. Now if you're ordaining a bishop, that has to appear, et siam. And then the clause comes after it. Legatur rescriptio apostolicae sedis. Let the rescript of the Holy See, of the Apostolic See, be read. And it is read in extenso. The whole document comes from Rome, and we all hear it with the apostolic authority behind it. It's very moving. And if you're ordaining now, that, after the initial expression et siam, which if it's not there, of course is untrue, is only omitted. There's a pause, nothing is read because it's not been given. So immediately at that point, because of the consequences, infinitely damaging to the church, one system can lead to a split, and on it goes, and on it goes. There is immediately canonical penances and censures coming in. Anyone involved in that immediately incurs maximal penalties. Beware! Don't get involved with splits. Stay always under your local bishop. It goes back to the early church. Ignatius of Antioch. Nihil sine episcopo. Nothing without the bishop. You're only safe under your local bishop. Never go into disobedience. So don't listen to what is also demonic. All the devil wants to do is wreck the church, rock the boat, bring it into splintered form. He loves division. And don't spend your time blogging and all the rest of it in divisive talk, criticizing and exploding. Spend it in intercession and Christian charity. Because one is the work of the one who hates the church, the other is the one who founded it, who prayed before he died, that they may be completely one, ut unum sint.